If you're worrying whether your creations are good enough, this video is for you, because I've got some handy changes in perspective to help you feel free to express your creativity. Let's dive in. Now, this concern of whether or not your painting or whether your piece of writing is good enough is something that comes up again and again and again for creative hearts. It's nothing new, and it's probably not going to change in anywhere in the near future. So if you've ever made something and then felt shy to put it out in the world, or embarrassed or worried about what other people think, let's break some of those things down so that we can express ourselves freely and actually enjoy the creative process. Now, underneath this question of worrying whether your or my creative projects are good enough is really a question of wondering what other people are going to think. And we're putting our locus of satisfaction, as I like to call it, outside of ourselves and onto how other people perceive our products or our creations or our paintings. And as soon as we start putting our locus of satisfaction, so where we're trying to derive our satisfaction from, outside of ourselves, then we're setting ourselves up to be extremely vulnerable and really left to the whims of how other people respond to our work. And that's not going to be sustainable in the long term, because it doesn't matter if you're the most best-selling author or if you've had exhibitions all around the world, there's always going to be people who don't like what you do. Maybe they don't like thrillers, or they don't like non-fiction, or they don't like abstract art. And there's nothing that you can do about that. It really doesn't matter. That's the beauty of it. And I wanted to take us into this next layer of the question, which is, instead of looking externally from ourselves and worrying if the creations are good enough, we need to bring that question back into our own heart and say, good enough for what? Is it good enough for my purpose? And what your purpose might be is to simply have enjoyed the process of making whatever you've made. So you don't get to the end of watching a movie and go, I don't think that I like the way that I watched that movie. You just enjoyed watching the movie. But it's because when we're making things with our hands, we end up with an end result, an end product, that it's very easy for our critical thinking mind to start judging it and start deciding whether or not the way that we just spent our time was worthwhile. But if we just create a little bit of separation, a little bit of distance between that judging mind and that evaluating, and remember to look at what it was that we were trying to achieve in the first place, and it might have just been a pleasant evening at home listening to music and pushing some paint around, then it takes the pressure off and we can go, breathe a sigh of relief. So I've got an itchy nose. Breathe a sigh of relief and actually allow ourselves the pleasure of doing that process again. And when we do that process again, that's when our skills naturally develop and evolve. So I've found that it's really, really important that we let go of this idea of being judged by what other people think and start to come back to our own inner direction and our own knowing of what it is that we're trying to achieve. I sometimes have people come into the studio and they'll see a painting that, for me, I know it's not finished, and they'll say, oh, I really love that, but I know that I'm going to do more to it and it's going to evolve, and they might not like what I end up doing with it. That's okay. And on the flip side, I'll have paintings hanging and people come in and they might mistakenly think that that painting is not finished, when in fact it has been, and they'll just expect that, there's going to be more evolutions to it. But if I check in with myself, I'm really happy with the composition, I'm happy with what it's saying, and for me, that's a complete and worthwhile piece. But we can only have that inner knowing by checking in with ourselves and being honest with ourselves and looking at what it is that we're trying to achieve. So I suggest, when you're just beginning with any kind of new creative modality, make it fun for yourself and then break it down into simple steps. So when I first started painting, I would make a painting that was all about focusing on color, and I would just choose one color. For a long time, I explored blue. And then I explored texture. And then I explored shapes. And by breaking it into simple processes and steps, I was able to start to master the different elements that go into making a composition. And you can do the same thing. You can break it down so that you can make it simple for yourself to actually feel like you're getting some wins on the board and a little bit of control over whatever it is that you're trying to learn. Another example is in writing. You might decide that you want to focus on learning how to use dialogue in your writing. I know for me that was like a light bulb moment. I went, oh my God, I can use quotation marks, and it just moves the story along. So those are my tips for you. If you are struggling and you're worrying about what other people think, bring it back to yourself. Remember what you're trying to achieve through the process and have fun with it. That's it for me for now. I'm wishing you a beautiful week. Be kind to yourself, nurture your creativity, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Now, if you're new to my blog and you would like some help to get started with painting and creativity, I've created a beautiful 10-day free e-course that takes you through just that, getting started with painting and creativity. And you can find that at nicolanewman.com/begin. And in there, you'll be taken through how to paint an abstract painting. We'll do some writing and some photography exercises, and it's loads of fun.